back to the OSD Maverick podcast. And we have been on this journey since January, trying to learn how to create millions from zero. We tag this podcast the blueprint of zero to millions. And I started off by explaining the concept of education. And in the last episode of our podcast, I explained the concept of spiritual education. Now, for this episode, I am going to dive straight into physical or classical education. Now, when we talk about physical or classical education, which is one of the most important things that you require to be able to build a sustainable source of value for yourself, in order for you to be able to use the real life lessons that I'm going to be sharing in this blueprint with you, it is important for you to also have physical or classical education. Now, there are three aspects of physical or classical education. The first aspect of physical or classical education that we are going to be delving into is the formal education. Now, what is the formal education? The formal education is that type of education that you get for the purpose of having a skill set. For the purpose of having a skill set, it is usually a structured or a well-structured type of education in which there is a curriculum, and it is usually based on academics, attending classes, taking lessons, taking tests or exams. Then at the end of the day, if you have been proved to be able to, excellently, pass the test and the exams after taking all the lessons, then you'll be offered a certificate. And that's what referred to as a formal education. Now, just recently I saw on the internet that the federal government, that is the Ministry of Education, are proposing that the type of education in Nigeria, which used to be 6-3-3-4. I think at one time it was even used in some certain part of the country, and even in certain part of Lagos, they were using a 9 basic education. Then we have the 3 years in senior secondary school and the 4 years in the higher institution. And the current Minister of Education is actually proposing that in Nigeria we should have the 12-4, so that by the time they are 16, they will be ready for the to write JAMB, to get to the university, which is the highest course of learning. Now, so formal education basically has to do with certificates. You attend classes, you take lessons, and you are able to test yourself. If you pass those tests or those exams, you'll be offered a certificate. So I also said that it is structured because it has a curriculum. It is structured and it is based on academics. It is based on academics. Now, next is the non-formal education. Now, the non-formal education is the type of education that you get for skills. Now, these skills can be skills in trades, in commerce, and in business. People from the southeastern part of Nigeria really practice this one, where you have, a person who is an entrepreneur who sells or who owns a business, who will now bring in apprentices in from different parts of Nigeria, especially from their own hometown, so that they can train them on the business. So this type of education is called non-formal education. When a young person sets out to go and learn about a particular trade, it can be bead making, it can be fashion, it can be fabrication of metals or aluminium, it can be carpentry, it can be welding. All these type of education are classified as non-formal education. Now, it also entails skill. It also entails about learning about the trade, the business, or the commerce. However, you don't need to write tests or exams for non-formal education. As a matter of fact, the lessons you are going to be taking are actually vocational, and the curriculum is not structured. So it teaches practical skills for real life problems. And these are the type of education that many people in this part of the world actually got. Now, if you pick by statistics, if you pick 10 people in urban area in Lagos, you probably have maybe about 5 or 6 who are actually the ones who have certificate, who have the formal education, and have been able to be certified to the higher institution or to the highest of education. However, when you go to the rural area, which are places that are developing, you mostly find out that many of the population are people who actually have non-formal education, because in this non-formal education, it is cheaper. It is not as structured as that of formal education, where they need to write test or exam, or where they'll be given a certain certificate for attaining a level. So it's not structured. It doesn't have a curriculum. But it teaches practical skills for real life problems. Now, the final type of education is the informal education. Now, this is about learning naturally. You learn through everyday life experiences. And this is the type of education that it is the most unstructured out of all this education. It does not have any curriculum. As a matter of fact, this type of education is usually derived from habits or hobbies, like household chores, cleaning, being honest, having character, being friendly, all these type of life skills basically is informal education. It's informal education. I said it is an habit or a routine because you repeat them every day. And as you repeat them every day, you get to learn a lot of lessons from the application of the knowledge that you have been able to get from it. People mostly learn it by looking at adults. Children mostly learn it by looking at adults or people who are doing the same thing that they really want to do. So it involves social activities. Then it is about your own personality. Informal education is about your own personality. It's about your own personal development, and it's a lifelong journey. As a matter of fact, this is the type of education that happens to be that education where you never stop, you never really graduate out of it. There's nobody who is issuing a certificate for you because it's a lifelong education. So these are the three major types of classical education. It is important for you to get formal education, non-formal education, and informal education if at all you are going to be using this blueprint and you want it to really work for you. So this is it for this our episode. So in our next episode, I'm going to pick up on the sustainable development education and how you can create your own personal goals that can help you to really use this blueprint. Don't forget to share, like, and comment. Then share with your friends so that they can also subscribe too. Thank you very much.